today's Conan Exiles guide, I'll be going through and ranking my favorite legendary weapons, telling you a little bit about them, where to get them. We're only going to talk about the ones that I feel are worthy, and I'll rank them in a little bit of A, B, C tier, situation 1, 2, 3, and I will mention weapons that I don't often use like spears and such. I tend to use axes and warhammers no matter what the meta is. I know people fight in different styles, and I'd mention all of them and just rank my favorite ones and what I would use if I had to use them. G'day, if you're new here, I'm ILLIBET, you can call me Lily, and if you're a returning viewer, hi, welcome back. I hope you find something helpful in today's guide. We will be starting off with maces. We'll also be mentioning every time what can take a poison, because not all can. As you can see, this one can, these ones can't. This in fact can, but I put the kit on afterwards. This has a master armor fitting. We're usually 85 and 27. And with the advanced kit, we'll get 6 points of damage and make it 91, but we get no armor pen. And the spike weapon fittings pretty much pointless unless you really like armor pen and you don't have the master weapon fittings from the Warmaker dungeon. You're gonna get 37. So only a 10% increase there with no damage. So definitely put your master weapon fittings on. You can't put it on a damaged weapon if you are a bit newer to the game. We do have separate guides where you can acquire that fitting from, but essentially just do the dungeon over here, the Warmaker, like a little stronghold. And we will be referencing again that place at some point because a bunch of the weapons that I like to use actually come from in there. Starting off in A tier, we have the momentum. It can be got from a legendary key box, which does make it a little bit of a random chance to acquire. And at one point it was available from Catan merchants for ancient obelisks. They may reintroduce that, who knows? Probably not though. It regularly has 85 health damage with 27 armor pen, but we get these results with a master weapon fitting. It also goes really nicely on a thrall. They tend to bug out a little bit less when using maces. They do a nice little full combo. It does swing regularly like a mace, and you can dual wield it with a hammer or with a throwing axe. We also have a decent chunk of durability with 3,300. In B tier, we have two maces that are very similar but oh so slightly different. One acquired in the Warmaker dungeon, the one where you get these fittings from here at Khalil's stronghold, acquired from fighting one of the 3 giant king bosses at the beginning. Looking pretty much identical to the Quake, aside from having thunder difference with the Quake and the Nordis having corruption. When you hit an enemy, they will gain corruption. A human enemy, as NPCs do not gain corruption. And this one giving sunder. All maces do sunder on your heavy attack final hit, I believe, but this will do sunder on all attacks. They both have 67 health damage and 27 armor pen, and when a master kit is applied, we get 72 health damage and 39 armor pen on both. Neither of these are able to take poison because they have a retroactive little effect already. That is one other downside, because the Nordis can also poison with that poison applied. In C tier, but still very worthy, and I would still use them, is the Heated Argument acquired in the Unnamed City, which again, I have separate guides on the Unnamed City and places like the Warmaker's stronghold. So if you need extra guidance on where to exactly get them, check out those videos. And we have the Archer's Bane. And you might notice that, yeah, they're pretty much just reskins of each other. Unlike the Heated Argument, which heats up your enemy opposite to Frostbite, it will make them a bit spicy, and maybe if you already live in the desert, they won't be able to climb, or they'll start getting extra hot and take heat damage. It has 60 health damage and 28 armor pen, and the Archer's Bane, unlike the Heated Argument, is acquired from a legendary key box, much like the Momentum. It has the Executioner effect instead of the Heated effect, and neither of them can take poison because of that. But the Executioner's effect will kill, I believe it's the last 10% of the enemy's health. So whether you find that more worthy than being able to apply poison. And with the master fittings, we're going to get 65 health damage and 40 armor pen on both of them. Every now and then stuff comes out different. And all of these ones in B tier and C tier all have 3,300 durability and weigh a similar amount of 4.5. And as just a bit of an honorable mention, we have the Love Tap. It's a legendary concussive truncheon-y guy. Sometimes it's bugged, sometimes it's a good truncheon. which is lovely. It can have poison on it, pretty pointless if you're trying to knock stuff out, but it's a fun little thing to get. Moving along to two-handed swords. The Sword of Crom definitely is one of the better ones to get, but you have to get it from a random drop from a skeleton in the unnamed city. It used to have an absurd amount of health damage, which has been nerfed, but it does have a decent amount of armor pen. It can go well on a thrall, but no need for that anymore because it no longer gets rid of all of your stamina. It in fact uses pretty much the exact same amount as others. And that's always going to use all of your stamina doing the wumpa jump. That looks pretty cool. If I didn't mention, obviously he's in A tier. And when we apply a little master kit on him, we now get 83 damage and 32 armor pen. One thing you do have to consider though is its durability is quite low. So putting it on a thrall, you won't use up that durability and you'll benefit from that high damage. Next up, we have the original, the Papyrus Blade. The Crom sword is basically just a little reskin of this guy. Well, they have the same skin. It's not really a reskin. Duplicate skin. They couldn't be bothered designing another thing, which is interesting later when I mention something else they've changed, which may have been changed for a while, but I've only just noticed it. All great swords do cripple on impact, but this one also does paper cuts. Paper cut is a bleed that doesn't stack, so it's going to do 2 points of damage per tick. I think it lasts like 8 or 10 seconds or so, but that's only one stack, but you will get that extra bleed plus cripple. We get 74 health damage and 24 armor pen. Up a little papyrus fitting, master fitting, and we get 79 health damage and 37 armor pen. We also have a decent 3600 durability. It does weigh a decent amount at 10.5, and most two-handed swords are a strength weapon, aside from a couple little exceptions, one of those being Balpapta's Razor. So many weapons have had their effects changed and stats changed over the times. It's really hard to keep up, but I believe this one and also the Balpapta's Lodestone gave you increased encumbrance or survival or something like that. I think it was encumbrance. At least the Lodestone was. This weighs practically nothing, but that's not going to affect you too much. But it is nice to have that option, especially if you're in an agility build, because you don't have the extra strength to give you the extra carry capacity. These are both legendary key box acquirements, so you'll have to try your luck at getting them out of there. On native, it's very similar to the Papyrus Blade, and it has 23 armor pen and 75 health damage. And pop it on with that and we'll get 35 and 80 health damage, which actually turns out a smidge better health damage wise and a little less good armor pen wise. But if you're an agility build and you like a two-handed sword, look out for this guy. Moving along to C tier, but still very, very good guys. These ones are just slightly less because slightly less damage. But quickly, before moving along, you can't put poison on the B tiers except for the Balpapta's Razor. It can in fact take poison, and Crom's Blade can also take poison. Crom's Blade, Sword of Crom. The Watchblade in a C tier only because of that slightly less health damage. We are a light source, which is pretty cool, and we have 74 health damage and 22 armor pen, but a whopping amount of durability, which makes it a decent application of Oil of Agony. Oils do require high durability because they're a timed effect, and the higher the durability, the more time you're going to get out of them. We're going to get an hour and 20 minutes of a lot of damage, which is pretty cool. 89 extra damage. 89 extra damage, 89 health damage. The Watchblade, of course, can take poison and is found in a legendary key box, so definitely keep your eye out for that. Those being a light source is really cool. If we put a master weapon fitting on there, we're going to get 79 and health damage and 34 armor pen. But damn, that's pretty nice. That's a Sword of Crom. That's better than a Sword of Crom. Put Oils of Agony on a Sword of Crom, you're going to get like 2 seconds. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I was curious and I had to check. The timer will go down on a thrall. Unlike durability, the timers still count on the thralls. Or at least they did, unless they changed it. And like the Balpapta's Razor, we then have the Blade of the Adventurer. Got a little bit nerfed in its health damage, which is now 74 with 15 armor pen. It is also an agility weapon. A little bit less durability at 288, 2880. Can't speak, good. Can take poison. Pop a little master fitting on there, and we get 79 health damage and 27 armor pen. I also enjoy the Annihilator. Unlike these two, it is acquired in the Warmaker dungeon from killing a skeleton about in there. Again, check out my guide if you wish to find that exact location. And you can roll through a couple of different weapons and maybe not even drop anything. But natively, it has 75 health damage and 33 armor pen. It used to have 100% armor pen, but they took that away. It also has the Executioner effect, so that last 10% of damage will kill. 10% of damage, 10% of health left on the thrall. I don't think I'm explaining that well. It can't take poison, and if we put a master fitting on it, we have a health damage of 80 and armor pen of 45, and this guy also looks really cool. Can't really tell right now a little bit, but he's like glowing red and stuff. Next we have spears. I don't often use spears. They're very popular at times. They're currently not that popular, but definitely have a good counter for a lot of things. So it is advisable to get good at spears. Not that I ever have. It's beside the point. This first A tier one, well, the only A tier one, is the Mordelin. It can be found in the Warmaker's quarters from one of the Giant King bosses at the beginning. We have 67 health damage and 9 armor pen. It is corrupted, so when you hit folk with it, non-NPCs, it'll corrupt them a little bit. Pop a master fitting on there, and we have 72 health damage and 21 armor pen. Moving along to B tier, we have the Black Dragon Spike. Unlike most other pikes that are strength weapons, the Black Dragon Pike is an agility weapon, which is quite nice for those agility users. Doesn't have the best durability, weighs a medium amount, has 65 health damage and 7 armor pen. Pop a little boy on there. We get 70 health damage and 19 armor pen. On the fourth heavy hit, well, on the fourth hit really, with a pike, it does do bleed, but this one does bleed on all the hits, so that is a nice little guy to have extra, but won't take poison. Next we have the Vaulting Pole, which is also an agility pike, but this one can take poison. So that's lovely. We have 60 health damage and 9 armor pen prior to the master fitting, and we now have 65 health damage and 21 armor pen. It does have a lot more durability, and that can come in pretty handy. In C tier, we have the War Spear of the Black Circle. It is a strength weapon, and it has a sweeping effect. So it's a little bit different than the other Pokey Mate moves, which I'll show you in just a second. We can take poison. We have 51 health damage and 8 armor pen, 4,200 durability and a pretty average weight. Pop a little kit on there. We have 56 health damage and 20 armor pen. So the moveset of the War Spear of the Black Circle is quite different. If we poke a couple of times with the Mordelin, you can see we just go pokey on the light attack, and the heavy attack is also pretty pokey apart from one swell there. With the War Spear, we'll do a full combo here. Attack my random Worshipper of Mitra, and a heavy attack. So as you can see, it's quite sweeping. The War Spear can be found in legendary key boxes if you're looking for that. And then we also have the Lifeblood Spear, which can heal you a little bit. It is found from killing the Red Mother in the Unnamed City. We'll go from 60 health damage and 9 armor pen, putting a kit on it, to getting 65 and 21. It cannot take poison, but if you happen to fall from a big height also, you can equip it and it will slowly heal you. Or not, because sometimes it's bugged. So to be honest, not really worth it as using that anymore, but sometimes they unbug it. Not a bad little spear to get around with if you do happen to get and you like using spears. It looks cool. There are certainly more really good spears like the Impaler and Gavin's Rusty Spike, doing gouging and disease and such. But these ones are pretty worthy as they are. And now the Abyssal Spear is pretty worthy. You can craft this yourself once you've done the Dregs dungeon over here. This with 52 health damage and 8 armor pen, medium amount of durability. Add a little kit on there and we get 57 and 20 armor pen. It also looks really cool compared to what it used to. She got a reskin and so did the sword. I'm not sure when they did this. I've only recently noticed it, as in today, because don't often use it. But now it's pretty worthy. One of the best pikes that you can make yourself. There's also just a butt ton of really cool weapons that you can exclusively get on Sipta. A couple now are available to get on Exiled lands through certain bosses. A couple of them will be mentioned in a little bit. Moving along to daggers. I do like a dagger here and there. They're quite handy for doing a quick little flip backwards, escape, and when you are encumbered, you can thrust quite far forward with little light attacks. But I've got my weapons bound funny. Being able to flip backwards quite quickly is real handy. And you can stack bleed real quick. And a lot of them do, in fact, take poison. In A tier, we have the Daggers of Nameless Days. These are a legendary keybox find, so you'll have to scummage through those keys in the dungeon. We get 46 health damage and 18 armor pen. It does bleed when you do heavy attacks, which is quite nice. It is one of the higher damage weapons, which is why it's in A tier, and you can put poison. Pop a little kit on there. We get 30 armor pen and 51 health damage. They're quite light and fairly durable. Also in A tier, I have the Shank, one of the best because we do cripple as well when hitting, so they're going to be able to get away a lot slower. 45 health damage and 18 armor pen, not a huge amount of durability, and can only be gotten from the Brute in the Unnamed City. He also drops one of my other favorite weapons that we'll be mentioning a little later. Putting a kit on it, we'll get 50 health damage and 30 armor pen, a little bit less health damage than the Daggers of Nameless Days. Next up in B tier, we have Set's Tongue. Really good if you're fighting people who are using buffs, although buffs aren't quite as OP anymore now. You can't stack a whole bunch of them. You can quickly wipe them off your enemy so they'll do less damage from their different potions. Also, if you happen to drink a whole bunch of, say, Golden Lotus potions and you get a bit drunk, you can also equip these guys and never mind. Apparently we don't get rid of that. We used to get rid of the drunk effect, but it will get rid of poison effect. Popping a kit on them, we will get, 30 health damage and 50 health damage rather, and 30 armor pen. Next in B tier, we have the Zanzibar Knives, a legendary keybox drop with 45 health damage and 18 armor pen. We also have Disease, which will do 0.5 health damage every 10 seconds for as long as the effect is lasting. And it's also going to remove the hydrated and sated buff, so there won't be any passive healing, although damage tends to remove that anyway, but they won't be able to regain it. Pop a kit on him and we get 50 health damage and 30 armor pen, and again pretty medium durability and weight. Onto C tier, we have the Pristine Kari Daggers, a little bit different because they are got in the Kari dungeon on a rare occasion from some of the big Giant King bosses in there. Located behind Conan's house at South Lake. 44 health damage and 18 armor pen. Put a kit on him and we get 49 health damage and 30 armor pen, and you can put poison on them. We also in C tier have the Akabani Blades. They're dual rule, even though not really, because they changed a lot of durability, and they're going to get pretty similar stats as they've also got 44 health damage and 18 armor pen and can take poison, but these guys drop from legendary boxes. They did used to have some of the highest durability before, when daggers all used to have pretty poop durability, but they've since increased a lot of that. And the Jebelsark's Prowls, I couldn't decide to put in B or C tier, so we're just like kind of popping in the middle here. I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to have to check, they used to do bleed on light attack, and that made them pretty good, and they're gotten from the Warmaker dungeon from one of the priest kings in there, or giant kings, whatever. Getting 49 health damage and 31 armor pen with that kit. We'll test them real quick if they do that extra bleed with light attacks. But quickly, I'll also mention the Daggers of Dagon. Quite nice, much like the Shank. They also do cripple. A little less damage, but similar-ish armor pen and whatnot. Put a kit on them, you know, not too bad. And you can craft them yourself. This is crafted with a bladesmith, and this is one just spawned in. I have used them, so can't put a kit on it. But you get them from doing the Dagon dungeon. I do have a separate guide on there, but it's located around this area, pretty much right there. Yeah, the Jebel Sarg's prowls do still do that light bleed. It will only apply 1 bleed compared to hitting them with the heavy attack applying 2 bleed. Moving along to Warhammers, my favorite weapon. I enjoy them the most because they're good for PvE and PvP, depending on the meta, at the kind of meta at the moment. I use them regardless. I just like the way they move. They're a little slow and can leave you vulnerable, but if you're good with them, they can mess people up real well. I myself am not that great with them, to be fair. Then I'm also a weirdo who wishes that heavy armor made us shuffle back rather than roll, for way less stamina loss. It was easier to control. I was much better back then, but anyway, I digress. In A tier, we have Hanuman's Garter with a whopping 96 health damage and 45 armor pen. It is very hefty at 50 weight, but pop it on a thrall, they won't know the difference. And to be fair, if you're an encumbrance build, you also won't know the difference. And you could whack a lightning kit on there if you really wanted, but it's whatever. It's got quite high durability, and it doesn't use that much more stamina for yourself than if you were to use a regular Warhammer, which I'll show you in a moment. It is gotten from a legendary key box, so you gotta run around in those boxes to try and find one. But if you do, definitely hold on. We managed to get a whole bunch of them in our PvP playthrough recently, a whole bunch of them. So yeah, they're pretty common at the moment, at least for us. Pop a master kit on there and we will get 101 health damage and 57 armor pen. We do Sunder on attack, which is lovely on heavy attack, getting rid of all of that armor. We can also apply poison to him. Next up in A tier, we have the Misplaced Guardian's Willbreaker, which you can only sometimes acquire when the Catan caravan traders are about. I believe it costs like 1,000 ancient obelisks or so, and it's definitely worth getting a couple and putting a kit on them and maybe even reskinning them with something that's less obvious that it's this guy, maybe a stone one or something, just so you're not instantly targeted, because it does have one of the higher healths and you can buy a bunch of them and has a lot of durability with very little weight involved. 82 health damage and 47 armor pen. Can take poison, pop a little kit on there, and we get 87 health damage and 59 armor pen. In B tier, we have the Renaissance, which is acquired through the Warmaker dungeon from killing the Priest Kings at the start. We have 79 health damage and 45 armor pen. When hitting people, you'll corrupt them a bit, which is lovely. Pop a kit on there. Can't take poison because of that though. And we get 84 health damage and 57 armor pen, and has a pretty decent high durability and medium weight. In C tier, we have the Worldbreaker, which can be gotten from killing the same dude as you get the Annihilator from in the Warmaker dungeon. It does 68 health damage and 67 armor pen. Once upon a time, it has 100% armor pen, but they have since nerfed him. Still a whopping amount of armor pen, and if you're fighting people in heavy, it'll do you wonders. We now have 79% armor pen and 73% health damage. And to be fair, it's already got high enough damage and pretty decent durability that you could put an oil of penetration on there. Let's test it out. We're going to get 26 minutes, which is decent if you're not holding it, and 87 armor pen. Crazy. But alas, he cannot take poison. Next in C tier, we have Balpepta's Lodestone. A very good mention because he weighs nothing. So if you do require a lot of weighing nothing weapons, he's a great option there. He does 68 health damage, takes poison, and 47 armor pen. Pop a kit on him, 73 health damage, and 59 armor pen. Super worth keeping your eye out for. And this one, we also have a D tier. So we have the Beck de Coben coming in with a 66 health damage and 49 armor pen, but we're an agility weapon rather than most Warhammers being strength weapons. If you like a Warhammer and you're an agility build, look out for this one. Can take poison, pop a kit on him, 71 health damage and 61 armor pen. Not bad at all. Is a little weightier, which is a bit of a downfall for sure, but as I'll show you at the end of this in a moment, the difference between these, well, I'll show you the difference between these two is not that huge. Also in D tier, but also kind of C tier and B tier. Like, can't really decide. This guy kind of floats around. He's nice to have. He does cripple. Cripple on Warhammer with Sunder. Oof. It's not great. We also have a whopping amount of durability, so you could put something like the Oil of Penetration or Oil of Agony and get that extra bit of damage or armor pen on there. Probably go the damage because 45 is already a lot of armor pen with the Sunder, but you can mess someone's life up pretty good. He does not take extra poison, unfortunately, but with a kit on him, we get 71 health damage and 57 armor penetration. This will also cripple with light attack. Although for some reason it's not coming up on all me, it does. To be fair, unless it's bugged, which they like to turn on and off different bugs every now and then. And just as an honorable mention, we have a dead leg. It is a recipe which you get from the unnamed city's Library of Esoteric Knowledge from handing in the fragments of power which you use to make those oils of agony and whatnot. Also the place where you learn those oils. You can make it with just a leg, a severed leg. A little bit harder to come by at the moment, for sure, but not impossible. And we get a whopping 63 health damage and 45 armor pen. Decent amount of durability, and it doesn't weigh very much. And considering it literally costs a severed leg to make, not a bad recipe to acquire. Just got to be able to get a meat cleaver in. Yeah. With the kit, we are 68 health damage and 57 armor pen. And this has been made with a bladesmith. A heavy attack with the Hanuman's Garter. And a heavy attack with the Balpepta's Lodestone. And a heavy attack with a medium weight weapon. Then we have the light attack. There's definitely a bit of a difference, but it's comparable considering the weight. It really, if you are already an encumbrance build, don't worry about it at all. I'll pop them on a throw, like I say. Next up, we have one-handed swords, which I don't mind using every now and then. And in A tier, we have the Predator Blade, acquired from killing the Brute, much like the Shanks in the Unnamed City. We have the Predatory perk, which means we can only use light attack to do damage, but that damage is 108. We also cripple, which is nice, and a 9 armor pen, decent amount of durability, can take poison, pop a kit on him, and we get 113 health damage and 21 armor pen. In B tier, we have El's Drinker, doing 67 health damage and 9 armor pen. We cannot put any stuff on it because we also do bleed, which is kind of cool. Put a kit on there and we get 72 health damage and 21 armor pen. The Ballius, which looks pretty much identical to it, but is El's Drinker is acquired through a legendary key box. The Ballius, looking exactly like it, comes from the Wallmaker's Quarter. Pretty much the exact same perk, but instead of bleed, we have corruption. Like mentioned before, corruption will corrupt your enemy, providing they can take corruption. Pop a kit on there and we get 72 health damage and 21. Same as this bad boy. And they cannot take poison. In C tier, we have another weapon looking pretty much exactly the same, which is, you know, dope, funcom. We have the Spectre's Bane. It is gotten from killing skeletons in the Unnamed City. We have Spectre's Coating, doing extra damage to skeletons. We also cannot take poison because of it. 60 health damage and 9 armor pen. Pop a kit on there. 65 health damage, 21 armor pen. Next up, we have the White Blade, very similar, but comes from legendary key boxes instead. So it's literally the same, but comes from a different option and isn't a reskin of 2 other swords. Samesy skin. Which swords she using? Nobody knows. Somebody guess. Just some honorable mentions. We have the Eye of the Watcher, which gives you a little bit of a cold debuff, cold resistance rather. We have the Tower of Amir Kurumum, definitely not saying that correctly. Unlike most one-handed swords, which are strength weapons, this is an agility weapon. Not the most health damage, but can be used with an agility perk. Has 59 health damage and 9 armor pen without a kit, and with the kit we are 64 and 21. Then we have the Lying Bastard, acquired from skeletons in the Unnamed City. It's pretty cool because you can skin axes with it and it swings like an axe, giving axes extra reach. 60 health and 9 armor pen. and 65 and 21. And it is all lies, because technically axe should really have been in the axe category, to be fair. Next up we have the Drunkard's Blade, which, as the name implies, will get your folk more drunk when you hit them with it. So you can prank your tribe mates and get them really drunk and burping and losing their stam, or just de-stam your enemy by getting them real drunk. It no longer gives strength or vitality buffs from getting drunk, so whack away, get people maggot. It is found in the Unnamed City also. And then we also have the Bane of Custrel. It's a legendary key box. It does do bonus strength damage, but that will override any potion that you have. And as soon as you put it away, that potion won't come back. You'll just won't have anything. So if you take a potion of enduring, like so, and then equip this guy, it'll give you 15% strength perk, which is the same as a potion, but removing it, it will remove the perk, and you will have nothing in your stats apart from being charming, because I'm charming like that. Used to just give us straight up attribute points, which is pretty cool, but no longer. And it can take poison. We also have a couple of katanas. I don't really use katanas. There's not too many of them you can get on the Exiled lands anyway, but we have the Blade of the Seven Winds, which is excellent to use against heavy armor folk, less good against like someone that doesn't wear armor. But we have 33 health damage, which doesn't seem like a lot, but 100% armor pen we got in the Unnamed City, specifically from the Red Mother. Pop a kit on him and we get 38 health damage and 112 armor pen. Which, to be honest, not 100% sure if extra armor pen really matters that much, or if you're better off getting that one extra perk from the other kit. We have the Grateful Knight, which is usually on Sipta, but you can in fact now get it from a spider boss in the Dregs dungeon. So if you're going about getting those Abyssal Blade recipes from completing that, which are craftable for this section, quite nice with 52 health damage and 8 armor pen. Putting a kit on it makes it even better, and it looks cool, which we'll look at in a second, getting kind of side quested from these guys. But you can get it from a spider guy in there. We got 64 health damage and 14 armor pen. Pop a kit on him, and he can take poison too, which is nice. We get 26 armor pen and 69 health damage. And then we have Musashi's Blackblade, which is a legendary keybox. Can no longer be gotten at the ruins of Almaria because it is back to being ruins and no longer a raidable castle. Pop a kit on him and we go from 74 health damage and 13 armor pen to 79 health damage and 25 armor pen. And it also does cripple, which is quite nice. But yeah, they've changed these guys and they look pretty cool now. This is the Abyssal Sword with its little eye. No idea when they've done this. Could have been this recent patch, could have been 2 months ago for all I know. Could have been a year ago, really. I don't think it was because I'm pretty sure I've done a video more recently than that featuring them. Our next category is axes. In A tier, we have, of course, Yog's Touch, with one of only 3 axes that you can get on the Exiled lands that does do armor penetration, with a whopping 28 armor pen and 60 health damage, a decent amount of durability, and you could probably get away with putting an oil on it, although you can only get it from killing Priest King in the Warmaker dungeon. It's kind of a rare drop. Whack a kit on him and he gets 65 health damage and 40 armor pen. Because of that corrupted, he also cannot take poison. But we do have the Reaver Axe. This is one of the 3 that can have armor pen on it. It is a legendary keybox, has 63 health damage and 15 armor pen natively. Pop a kit on him and we have 27 armor pen and 68 health damage. A little bit heavier, but not to worry. You can dual wield axes and they are all strength, I'm pretty sure, on the Exiled lands, but being able to dual wield them is cool. So instead of having your regular moveset like so, you move a little bit more slicey dicey, and that can be a little bit more beneficial in PvP because when they're trying to run away you can throw your sword, as axes are a bit more of a PvE situation now, less good in PvP without the macros to help your bunny hop cancel whatever. In B tier, we have the Glimmer Moon. Will light up at night, not quite as bright as a torch, but will give you a little bit of guiding light. Can pop him on a thrall. Doesn't weigh very much at all. Is a legendary keybox find. Has 71 health damage, 0 armor pen. Unless we put a kit on there. He can also take poison, which is cool. And then we get 12 armor pen and 76 health damage. Next up, we have the Axe of the Lion. One of my used to be favorite axes because it gave a strength buff, but now we are a predatory, which means we only do damage on light, but we've got a health buff with 103. Obviously no armor pen until we put the kit on. We can put poison, and then we get 108 health damage and 12 armor pen. Again, can only use light attack. In C tier, we actually have one of my favorite axes because it natively does sunder. So you can do a bit of bleed and a bit of sunder because the heavy attack on the fourth heavy attack on most axes will do bleed, and then most of them do shield smash apart from a couple don't. I'm pretty sure all of these ones do shield smash. Every now and then you'll find one that doesn't, but you can smash through a shield. Again, very handy if you have the throwing axes in hand. But because we don't have any armor pen, we definitely want to put that on there. And then we're going to get 76 health damage and 12 armor pen. And then we have the battle axe of the Berserker. Unlike the axe of the Gate Guardian, which is got from the very first boss in the Warmaker dungeon, this one is a legendary keybox find. Pretty much the exact same stats. So I actually have used this. I can't put a kit on it, but use your imagination and look at these ones, and that's exactly what it turns out to be. And we cannot take poison. And our honorable makeable mention is the Ancient Lemurian axe. It is great because you can repair it, because you can craft it yourself, so that's pretty dang cool. And it has 14 armor pen and 59 health damage. Whack a kit on there and can take poison. We get 26 armor pen and 64 health damage. It's one of my favorite axes in the whole wide game, favorite weapons in general, because of how cheap it is to craft, how easy it is to learn the recipe. Separate guide I've got on there, but it's one of the first recipes you get at Dagon's dungeon, so you don't even need to jump in the water or do any of that nonsense, which is lovely. And that is crafted with a bladesmith. Now, there aren't too many war axes, two-handed axes in the Exiled lands, and two of them you do have to craft yourself pretty much. But in A tier, we have the Scythe of Thag, not being able to take poison, but it looks really cool. I myself don't use Warhammers that often, but Warhammers war axes. If you do like a bit of a war axe, they are quite deadly. With a whopping 90 health damage, it is acquired from defeating the final boss Thag in the Kari dungeon behind Conan's house in Sepimeri. If we put a little kit on there, we're going to get 12 extra armor pen and 95 health damage. And decent amount of durability, so you could probably whack an oil on there, but keep in mind that you won't have very much durability left after it breaks. No longer one, but it's not very much. And then we have the Star Metal Great Axe, which you can in fact craft yourself. This is made with a bladesmith. Then we have the Perfected Hardened Steel Great Axe, which you will have to do some journey steps to acquire, but not that hard. Putting kits on these guys respectively, the Perfected guy made with the bladesmith will go to 67 health damage and 12 armor pen, and the Star Metal will be 80 health damage and 12 armor pen. Probably the best choice there, and occasionally you can get them dropped just from enemies. It will be slightly less health damage because not made with a bladesmith, but 0 armor pen anyway, so yeah, worth keeping your eye out for. Next up, we have bows. I don't often use bows anymore these days, but they definitely have their place. Super worthy. Usually an agility weapon, but occasionally can come in strength variety. They cannot take poison, but they can in fact be kitted. We have in A tier, with not a huge amount of durability and weighing a decent amount, we have the Reach of the Red Mother, acquired in the Unnamed City from killing the Red Mother, as the name implies. 34 health damage and 9 armor pen. It is agility based. Pop a kit on there and we will get 39 health damage and 21 armor pen. Yeah, quite low durability. Also in A tier, we have Decato's Voice, gotten from killing one of those priest-king guys there in the Warmaker dungeon, along with that Yog's Touch and Set's Tongues and whatnot, Mitra's Justices. Although I don't think I even featured Mitra's Justice, Jebelsalg's Prowls, those bosses, although two different loot pools. Anyway, check out my guide on that. We have much better durability. Power draw is just on any bow that has a strength perk. So if you're a strength yielding kind of weapon guy and you want some bows in your life, look out for Decato's Voice. We'll also have no armor penetration if we don't put a kit on there, but a decent 33 health damage. Put a kit on there and we have 12 armor pen and 38 health damage. In B tier, we're back to agility bows. We have the Splinter, which is got from a legendary keybox. Much better durability with 3000. 31 health damage, 0 armor pen. Pop a kit on him, we'll have 12 armor pen and 36 health damage. Then we have Bessie's bow, also got from a legendary keybox. It is a strength bow. It does have armor pen and is 26 health damage. Put a kit on him and we have 31 health damage and 21 armor pen. Then we have the pristine Kari bow in C tier, along with the Hullibone bow. Don't know why the Hullibone bow's chilling down there. This guy is gotten in the Kari dungeon from killing the Priest King guys in there. We get 38 and 21 with a kit. The Hullibone bow is got from the Skexy dungeon. I'm fairly sure it's Lockstone Cave, but to be fair, it might be one of the other ones along here. I do have separate videos on them. You can get a whole bunch of other cool stuff from amongst them, so go check that out. And we go from 28 and 9 to 33 and 21. Next up we have shields. In A tier we have the Miss Morn and the Soul Spiel, which do cold and heat insulation respectively, and the same amount of health and armor pen at 53 health damage and 14 penetration. So you'll dual wield it much like you do with that axe, but not do actual other damage, and the moves are slightly different and more shovey. But certainly very handy if you have these guys to get about to the volcano or around in the snow. You cannot put kits on them. In B tier, we have Akaban's shield. It has a butt ton of durability, so if you never want to use another shield, that's fun. And it does not weigh very much, which is quite nice. Most shields tend to have a very similar situation with health damage and armor pen. Next up, we have Black Bulgari's Fuguri, which used to be an agility situation. Got you that double jump going on. But now we have rectoactive bleed. So if someone hits you while you're holding it, they'll get a little bit of bleed. Pretty cool. Then in C tier, we have Ymir's Taj. A little bit less health damage and armor pen going on for it, but does have a cold debuff, much like the Soul Spill, but just a little bit less. This one's gotten from killing the Priest Kings in the Warmaker dungeon. And a couple of little just honorable mentions in general. We have 2 truncheons that are definitely worth keeping your eye out for other than the love tap. If the Catan traders are in town, or I think a whopping 2,000 ancient obelisks, you can get the Tiger's truncheon, which is very good at knocking shit out. It does 0 health damage. And then also we have the Seth's truncheon, which also does 0 health damage. The love tap does 1 health damage, FYI. And you get it from killing the first boss going into the Kari dungeon. Well, he's not really a boss, he's a little mini boss. That's the drunkard. So you do not really need to even run the dungeon whatsoever. You just pop in there behind Conan's house, kill him, pretty easy, and see if he'll drop this. Kind of rare though. Then we have bindings. You can get the dead woman's tresses from the same place at the Exiled traders. It's pretty expensive, but it has all the durability in the world and quite light. You'll never need another binding. But if the Catan traders aren't in town, you can try your luck at getting the recipe for the bindings of the dead. This one isn't even made with a thrall, and it doesn't weigh anything, and it has all the durability also, just ever so slightly less all the durability. Then we have a one-handed spear or javelin, so it can be thrown, so be careful not to do that. Acquired from killing the winged death in the unnamed city, we get the Riptide, 75 health damage and 18 armor penetration. We cannot put a kit on it, which is a bit of a bummer, but you can hold it and breathe underwater, which is pretty much its main use, really. We also have the Fangs of the Red Mother, which you can dual wield with stuff, also acquired from the Red Mother. Pretty worthy. Don't throw it, just keep it on hand to whack around. Or if you do throw it, try to pick it up again. Then we also have the Final Breath of the Red Mother. The Red Mother drops a lot of cool stuff, and this has a really long timer, so you're not going to really need another torch. Pretty cool. Very durable. And we have a couple of arrows, which are worth keeping your eye out for. Hullibone arrows acquired from those Skexy caves. From killing the Jill, 54 armor pen and 15 health damage. Very worthwhile, and use in a Hullibone bow if you acquired one of those while you're there. You gotta hack up the Jill with something like a pick or a cleaver or whatever to get them. And then we have the Mandibles of Alkirch, which you get from killing a couple of different spiders, but mostly his rare spawn up in the volcano. We have 18 health damage and 50 armor pen. Though we say armor negation, and that usually means it's 100% armor negation, so that's a little bit confusing there, not gonna lie. Did I mention your favorite weapon in the game or did I leave it out? Let me know in the comments how you felt about my little ranking. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know how you would rank stuff. Always curious to hear y'all's feedback. If you have found this information informative, smash that like button. If you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing as it means a bunch. Stick around for another helpful guide on Conan Exiles, and until next time, I hope you have an excellent day, evening, night, morning, whatever it may be, wherever you may be. Have a good one.